So, but now you're fully committed to Cortney at this point.
100%.
So you're not talking to anybody else?
No.
Just Cortney?
Just Cortney.
We just don't have the passion, the intimacy.
He sits there with a straight face, looking her closest friends in the eye, and swears on his life that he is 100% committed to Cortney. No other women, no secret messages, just her. But we know better, don't we? Because just a few scenes ago, he admitted to the cameras that he is still deep in the DMs with a woman named Diana from Brazil. It is a level of audacity that genuinely takes your breath away. How can a man who is literally being physically and financially supported by a woman stand there and lie to her face without blinking? This is the moment we realize that for some people, loyalty is just a word used to keep their current comforts secure. Welcome back to the messiest corner of reality television. We are talking about the complete deconstruction of Colt Johnson and the trap Cortney has accidentally walked into. To understand why this lie is so dark, we have to look at the current power dynamic. Colt isn't just a boyfriend, he is a patient. He has a broken leg, he can barely move, and he is living rent-free in Cortney's parents' house. He has turned his physical injury into a tool for emotional leverage. He isn't just asking for love, he is demanding care. Cortney has shifted from being a romantic partner to being a full-time nurse, a driver, and a financial safety net. But here is where the story takes a turn that feels more like a middle school nightmare than a relationship between two adults. They are living under the roof of Cortney's parents, and the rules are beyond bizarre. We are talking about two people approaching 40 years old who have a strict bedtime. Imagine being 34 and nearly 40 and having a parent knock on the door to tell you the lights must be out in 10 minutes. It is an incredibly humiliating situation that strips away any sense of adult agency. You have to wonder if Colt accepts this humiliation just because it means he doesn't have to pay a single bill. The tension in that house is thick enough to cut with a knife. Cortney is clearly frustrated, and who wouldn't be? She is wiping his back and helping him move while he is secretly dreaming of a woman thousands of miles away. It feels like she is being punished for her own kindness. She thinks she is building a future with a man who has finally changed his ways, but the reality is much more calculated. Colt seems to be using his vulnerability to keep Cortney from asking too many questions. After all, how can you yell at a man who can't even stand up on his own? This living situation creates a strange kind of psychological prison. By accepting the rules of the house, Colt positions himself as a helpless child who needs protection. But while he plays the part of the wounded bird for Cortney, his digital life is thriving with someone else. It is a classic move of a man who needs a backup plan for his backup plan. He is staying in a different room, following a curfew, and acting like a grateful guest. But the silence in that separate bedroom is exactly where he finds the time to betray the woman keeping him off the streets. Is it possible that the broken leg is the only thing keeping him from leaving right now? Cortney's friends see through the act immediately. They don't see a man in love, they see a man in a comfortable spot. They see the red flags waving in the wind while Cortney tries to focus on the fun they have together. But how much fun can you really have when you're being treated like a teenager and lied to like a stranger? The setup is perfect for someone who wants all the benefits of a relationship with none of the honesty. Wait till you hear how he tries to justify his secret conversations when the lights finally go out. The question isn't just why he's lying, it's why she feels responsible for his survival at the cost of her own peace. Colt decides the best way to fix a dying spark is to book a hotel room, claiming the lack of privacy at Cortney's parents' house is the only thing standing between them and a legendary romance. But let's be real for a second. Privacy isn't the problem when the person you're with is already emotionally checked out. The shift from the cramped, curfew-driven bedroom at her parents' place to a luxury suite should have been a turning point, but instead it became a clinical study in awkwardness. He's been out of the house for 5 minutes, and already the excuses are starting to pile up like old laundry. The transition from a shared caregiver dynamic to a romantic setting reveals that the physical distance was never the issue. It was the lack of genuine desire. As they settle into the room, the air feels heavy with an unspoken pressure. Cortney is hopeful, maybe even desperate, to feel like a girlfriend again instead of a nurse. She's looking for a sign that the man she's been bathing and feeding still sees her as a woman he wants. But Colt? He's playing a different game. He blames the pain meds, he blames the stress, and eventually, he blames the room itself. It is a masterclass in shifting responsibility. When a man spends more time explaining why he can't show up for you than actually trying, he's not struggling. He's stalling. Then we get to the moment that has lived rent-free in the audience's nightmares. The Gummy Worm incident. It's a phrase that Cortney uses with a mix of frustration and dark humor to describe their failed intimacy. But behind the funny label is a very real psychological sting. Colt doesn't take ownership of the failure. Instead of being vulnerable about his physical limitations or the medication side effects, he weaponizes the situation. He suggests that the fire is missing because Cortney isn't inspiring him enough. He sits there in a hotel room she likely helped him get into, blaming her for a lack of passion that he is failing to provide. It is the ultimate gaslight to tell a woman who is literally carrying your weight that she isn't doing enough to make you feel like a man. To try and bridge this massive gap, Cortney actually brings out visual aids. Yes, we are talking about printed diagrams of positions that might work with a broken leg. It's heart-wrenching to watch her try this hard. She's looking at these papers like they are a manual for a broken appliance she's desperate to fix. But Colt's reaction isn't one of gratitude or teamwork. He looks at them with a detached, almost bored expression. It's as if he's watching a presentation at a job he's already planned to quit. The effort is entirely one-sided, and the more she tries to engineer a solution, the further he retreats into his shell of excuses. Watching someone try to scientifically calculate passion is the clearest sign that the soul of the relationship has already left the building. Just when you think it couldn't get more uncomfortable, Colt decides to take matters into his own hands with a surprise of his own. He emerges from the bathroom in nothing but tiny red underwear and a bow tie. It wasn't the romantic gesture he thought it was. It was a jarring, cringe-inducing moment that felt completely out of touch with the reality of their situation. He's trying to play the part of a confident lover while his actions throughout the day have been anything but. Cortney's face says it all. It's the look of a woman who realizes that her partner is living in a completely different world than she is. A bow tie cannot mask the fact that he is still hiding a secret life with another woman on his phone. The night ends not with a breakthrough, but with a deeper sense of isolation. They are in a beautiful room, away from the rules and the curfews, yet they have never been further apart. Cortney is left wondering if she's just not enough, while Colt is likely already thinking about his next message to Diana. The hotel room was meant to be an escape, but for Cortney, it became a mirror reflecting the truth she's been trying to ignore. The most expensive suite in the world can't provide intimacy if one person is already checked out and halfway to Brazil. Wait until we see how he takes this failure and uses it as a reason to keep his backup plan alive the very next morning. Is he really unable to perform, or is he simply saving his energy for the woman he isn't supposed to be talking to? Morning light hits the hotel room, but the atmosphere isn't one of post-romantic bliss. It is a cold, clinical realization for Cortney that something is fundamentally broken. While she sits there wondering if she is the problem, Colt is already mentally boarding a flight to South America. He finally admits to the producers that he is still talking to Diana, a woman from Brazil. But he doesn't call it cheating. No, he calls it a gray area. He claims that because he and Cortney aren't having sex, he needs emotional validation from someone else. It is a logic that only makes sense if you view women as vending machines for your ego. He is literally using his physical disability as a hall pass to commit emotional arson on his current relationship. This gray area is a place Colt has lived in for years. If you have been following his journey since the days of Larissa and Jess, you know this is his signature move. Remember Vanessa? She was the platonic friend who was always in the background while he was with Jess. He swore up and down there was nothing going on until suddenly she was his wife. He creates these safety nets because he cannot handle being alone or being held accountable. By keeping Diana on the hook, he ensures that if Cortney ever gets tired of being his nurse, he has a landing pad ready in Brazil. It is a repetitive cycle of bringing a third person into a two-person relationship just to avoid dealing with his own reflections. The emotional weight of this is staggering when you consider the labor Cortney is putting in. She is physically lifting him, managing his medication, and dealing with her parents' judgment just to keep him comfortable. And his response to that sacrifice? He says he needs Diana because he needs to feel wanted. It is the ultimate slap in the face. He is receiving the most basic, raw form of human care from Cortney, yet he claims he is starved for validation. Why does a man need a backup woman to whisper sweet nothings in his ear while his girlfriend is busy cleaning up his literal mess? He looks at the camera and insists that his relationship with Diana is purely platonic. We have heard this script before. To Colt, platonic seems to mean any woman I haven't married yet, but am currently hiding from my partner. He tells Cortney's friends that he is 100% committed, all while the ghost of his past marriages haunts every word he speaks. He isn't just lying to Cortney, he is lying to himself about his own capacity for change. He treats his history of infidelity like a series of unfortunate accidents rather than a deliberate choice he makes every time things get difficult. The most dangerous lie isn't the one he tells Cortney, it's the one he uses to convince himself that he's the victim in his own story. There is a specific kind of cruelty in maintaining a secret relationship while someone is taking care of your basic survival. It suggests that he views Cortney's care as a debt she owes him rather than a gift she is giving. He is taking her stability and using it as a base of operations to scout for his next thrill. Cortney is worried about him cheating even though he can barely walk, and the sad reality is that she's right. Physical limitations don't stop a wandering heart if the person hasn't done the internal work to stay put. A man doesn't need legs to walk out on a relationship, he only needs a high-speed internet connection and a lack of conscience. As we watch him navigate this gray area, the tension shifts from the bedroom to the dinner table. He is about to meet her inner circle, the people who know her best and take no nonsense. He thinks he can charm them the way he charms his digital flings, but these people have receipts. They see the caregiver and they see the patient, and they are starting to wonder if the patient is actually a predator in disguise. Wait until you see the look on his face when her friends stop asking about his leg and start asking about his intentions. Does he truly believe he can keep these two worlds separate, or is he just waiting for the cast to come off before he makes his move? The scene shifts to a local bar, and the energy is immediately different. Cortney's friends aren't there to celebrate a recovery. They are there to perform an audit on a man who seems to be operating in a deficit. As they sit across from Colt, the broken leg becomes the elephant in the room that no one is tiptoeing around anymore. They see a woman they love acting as a chauffeur, a medical assistant, and a financial sponsor, and they waste no time labeling it exactly what it looks like. They call out the personal nurse dynamic with a bluntness that makes Colt visibly squirm. It is a moment of pure friction where the bubble of their domestic life at her parents' house finally bursts. When your friends start viewing your boyfriend as a patient instead of a partner, the romance hasn't just faded, it has been replaced by a job description. Colt tries to navigate this with his usual deflective charm, but for the first time, it's failing him. He sits there with a level of self-awareness that is actually chilling because it's entirely devoid of remorse. He knows he is a burden, he knows he is being taken care of, but he seems to view it as a logical necessity rather than a sacrifice on Cortney's part. It is the cold calculation of a man who knows how to survive on the kindness of others while offering nothing but empty promises in return. Then we get to the core of the suspicion, the financial angle. Her friends aren't just worried about his heart, they are worried about her bank account and her parents' generosity. They bring up the rent-free lifestyle and the timing of his devotion. It's hard to ignore the math here. Colt is nearly 40, unemployed, injured, and has nowhere else to go. The suspicion in the room is thick. Is he only all in because he literally cannot walk away? It's easy to swear loyalty to a woman when she's the only thing standing between you and a cardboard box. The friends grill him on his long-term plan, and his answers are vague, airy, and centered entirely on himself. He doesn't talk about how he plans to repay Cortney or how he's going to make her life easier once he's healed. He talks about his needs and his process. It reveals a level of narcissism that thrives in the shadows of someone else's hard work. You can see the gears turning in the friends' heads. They aren't looking at a man in love. They are looking at a squatter with a cast. This leads us to the most heartbreaking moment of the entire episode. As the conversation spirals, you can see the light change in Cortney's eyes. It is the retention anchor of the entire season, the moment she realizes she is being used as a crutch, both literally and figuratively. She looks at the man she has been bathing, feeding, and defending, and she finally sees the imbalance. She realized that while she was busy being his legs, he was busy looking for a new path that didn't include her. There is a specific kind of pain in realizing you've been someone's temporary shelter while they wait for the storm to pass so they can go back to their real life. She starts to question if his love is just gratitude for the free room and board. The realization that she might just be a convenient stop on his way to his next mess is a heavy weight to carry. Colt's reaction to her visible distress is a masterclass in emotional detachment. He doesn't reach out to comfort her, he gets defensive. He makes it about how he is being grilled and how he is the one under pressure. Even in a moment where Cortney is falling apart, he manages to center himself as the victim of her friend's meanness. It is a pattern we see over and over with him, the inability to put anyone else's feelings above his own comfort. He isn't just using her for her house and her care, he is using her as an emotional shield against the consequences of his own history. As the night at the bar ends, the user label isn't just a suspicion anymore, it feels like a confirmed diagnosis. The friends leave with their warnings, and Cortney is left standing next to a man she no longer fully trusts. The leg might be healing, but the relationship is developing a fracture that no cast can fix. Wait until you see how Colt tries to manipulate his way back into her good graces the moment they get back into the car. If he is only with her for the stability, what happens the moment he can finally stand on his own 2 feet? The drive home from the bar is silent, and in that silence, a single word starts to echo in Cortney's mind. Potential. It is perhaps the most dangerous word in the English language when applied to a romantic partner. She tells herself she sees his potential, that she knows the real Colt beneath the broken leg and the baggage. But let's be honest about what that word actually means in this context. Potential is just a placeholder for the person you wish someone was, so you don't have to face who they actually are. When you fall in love with someone's potential, you aren't in a relationship with a human being, you're in a relationship with a construction project. Cortney is exhausted from the manual labor of being his nurse, but the emotional labor of trying to fix a man nearing 40 is what's truly breaking her. Why do so many women stay in these lopsided dynamics? It's often the sunk cost fallacy. She has already wiped his back, defended him to her parents, and sacrificed her peace. To admit he's a user now would mean admitting all that effort was for nothing. But the illusion is shattering in real time. The potential version of Colt would be grateful, transparent, and focused on making Cortney feel secure. The real version of Colt is hiding a woman in Brazil while living in Cortney's childhood bedroom. This isn't a man who is struggling to find his way. This is a man who has perfected the art of the pivot. Every time a woman gets too close to the truth, he pivots to a new victim or a new excuse. The tragic irony of this relationship is that Cortney is waiting for him to stand on his own 2 feet so they can start their life, but the moment he can stand, he's likely going to walk right out the door. He has spent his entire adult life being managed by women, first his mother, then a string of wives, and now a fiance who doubles as a medical assistant. He doesn't want a partner, he wants a protector. As we reach the final reversal of this saga, the old saying holds true. Leopards don't change their spots. They just find new jungles to hide in. Colt's behavior with Diana is a carbon copy of his behavior with Vanessa during his marriage to Jess. It is a neurological loop of seeking external validation the moment internal reality gets difficult. He tells the producers that old habits die hard, but that is just a fancy way of saying he has no intention of killing those habits. He treats his character flaws like weather patterns he can't control rather than choices he makes every single day. If a man can lie to your face while you are literally carrying his weight, there is no level of health or wealth that will ever make him honest. This leaves us, the viewers, with a very uncomfortable question. How many red flags are we willing to ignore in the name of potential? Cortney is a smart, capable woman, yet she is currently trapped in a cycle of caregiving for a man who wouldn't even give her his phone password. It's a reminder that boundaries aren't just for keeping people out, they are for keeping ourselves safe from becoming someone else's convenience. As the episode closes, we see Cortney staring at her phone, the weight of her friend's words finally sinking in. The caretaker's trap has finally snapped shut, and the only way out is to stop being the crutch for a man who refuses to walk straight. But if you think Colt's web of lies is the peak of the drama this season, you haven't seen anything yet. While Colt is playing nurse and patient in the suburbs, another single-life veteran is about to have a meltdown that makes a broken leg look like a paper cut. The fallout from Colt and Cortney is just the beginning of a much larger collapse within the franchise. Wait until you see what happens when the cameras follow the aftermath of a secret meeting that changes everything for the rest of the cast. If you're wondering how Colt's past finally catches up to him in the most public way possible, you need to see what happened when his ex-wives decided to break their silence together.